Hey family, again, if you haven't checked this out, book coming out at the end of this month. If you're just now watching it, if you're past July, then the link should be in the description. Again, book is coming out, The Magnetic Project Manager. What's one thing that you should know about it? Really understanding how to communicate effectively. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Welcome back, family. This is your boy ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there that listen, that just simply means Ed. Today's episode is entitled Questions to Ask a Project Manager Mentor. Again, questions to ask a project manager mentor. Let me ask you one question for you, though, family. Imagine having a management mentor who can hold you accountable and unlock your full potential. Would you like that? Well, stay along with me so we can make sure you ask the right probing questions to your mentor. First point, as you know, I have a 7 point framework. First point, what led you in a career of project management? This is an excellent question to ask the mentor that is mentoring you. Well, that was a lot. Mentor. I guess if the cat. Okay, never mind. If Sally went to the seashore by the seashells. Okay. Anyway, but no, seriously, what led your career in project management? You said, well, like if someone was asking me that question, well, what led your career in project management? And I would answer, well, I accidentally fell into project management. I was watching a gentleman who I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, he was always in and out the office a lot. And I love that because I was like, man, you mean I don't have to sit here in my cube and just be stationary? And I was like, I want to know more about this. And so I started talking to him. He was like, yeah, I'm a construction project manager. I was like, oh, awesome. I was like, so how does this work? And he started showing me. At that time, I didn't know what he was. So he's like, this is the Microsoft project schedule. And I was like, okay. And he was just showing me different artifacts and things. And I was like, huh. He was like, would you be interested in shadowing me? I'm gonna be driving down to San Antonio to check on one of the facilities to see how it's coming along, and I'll have all these things, and you can just watch me live if it's okay with your manager. See, so I want to talk to my manager. I said, hey, I think this is what I want to do next. So is it okay if I go shadow the person? That's another key point. I didn't even have that prepared, but shadowing someone that is already a project manager gives you an opportunity to see if this is something you want to do. I would hate for you to jump into this beautiful career, this thing that we call project management, and you not love it because you didn't get a chance to see behind the scenes. All right. So again, answering that question of what led you into project management, you get a chance to explore their journey. Like I shared my journey with you, get to see insights, what kept them motivated, what are some of the experiences, good or bad, that happened along the way, and what sparked that passion for project management. Point number two, what are essential skills and traits for successful project managers? Again, these are questions you should ask, or I recommend that you ask your project mentor. Well, first of all, what you want to understand is about the skill set is what makes a successful, or what we talk about here, an exceptional project manager. What that is communication, collaboration, being able to have a adaptable mindset or even a growth mindset. Because family, each time you get a project, it's going to be new. As we understand, a project has a temporary endeavor. It doesn't go on and on and on forever. I know there's some projects that do, but that's not really a truly project, but I digress. So just basically understanding the skill sets that is required to be a successful, exceptional project manager. You want to ask that type of question. Question number three you want to ask your project mentor is, how do you approach project planning and organization? That is huge because everyone has their different ways of how they approach the planning aspect. And then once everything is planned, how do you go about organizing it to make sure that it makes sense to your end user? Make sure, I said end user. Yeah, your end user and your stakeholders. And what type of tactics and strategies are you using when you're going along planning, and how are you making sure everyone's staying organized and on top of tasks? Like, walk me through that. And again, these are really deep insights that allow you to have a much greater success in this thing we call project management. Point number four, or question number four that you can ask, what strategies do you use for effective stakeholder management? Let me tell you something, family. Without people, project managers could not have the success that they have. People really help drive the project, meaning that you have subject matter experts or SMEs, what we call them. We have people that are just literally, you need that collaboration, that functionality to be able to work together as a team. And you have to find out what are their communication styles. I shared that in another video where most people just send emails and be done with it. They won't follow up. They won't even find out what happened. They don't ask the question why. What they do is like, well, I did it, so they should have gotten back to me by now. No, use every piece of communication tool, or I should say vehicle to communicate as possible. If you got to pick up the phone, if you got to connect with them in chat, if you got to send double, triple email, leverage everything, family. Just don't get stuck on one. So you can have a more effective strategy when it comes to stakeholder management. Let's go on to question number 5, or what I call my framework point number 5. How do you handle project risk and challenges? Let me say this to you, family. Um, I would rather work with somebody that's been through something than somebody that's never been through anything. What do you mean there, ED? Well, when someone has never been through something, they're quicker to walk away. They're quicker to run away. They're quicker to put on their shoes and get up on up out of here, as my grandma would say. But it doesn't even, versus somebody that has been through something, they have a little bit more, I'll call it staying power. When they've been through something, they got a little bit more of, well, okay, it's sort of like a cut, like, you put a Band-Aid on it and then it heals, but you still have that cut there unless you use some cocoa butter or, okay, I'm just messing with you. But anyway, family, the point I'm trying to make is being able, point number 5, being able to understand how that project manager handles risk and challenges will tell you a lot about that project manager. Do they get, do they panic? Do they talk about everybody behind their back? I always told you, this has been my motto when I learned it, and I still don't know who said this. I would rather stab you in the front than in the back. Again, I would rather stab you in the front than in the back. What does that mean, ED? That just simply means, it's an analogy, of course, I don't literally mean I'm going to stab somebody, but what I'm saying is, whatever I got to say about you, I'm going to say it directly to you. I don't need to go around to John or Sam or Susie and say what I can say to you directly, whether good or bad. And it's not being boisterous. It's just saying, why do that? And then you hear it from one of those people and the communication is messed up. You played that game, family. If you haven't, there used to be a game when I was coming up, and this taught me a lot about communication. And how it went is that everybody, well, excuse me, there was 2 games about that. So I'm gonna give you the one that now that just hit me is, you would tell somebody something, they would tell the next person. By the time it got down the line to the last person, what the first person said, it was irrelevant. What do you mean irrelevant? What I mean is, it didn't even, it was nowhere close to what the first person originally said. So family, I say all that to say that when you are working on a project that is challenging and risky, get excited. I know it doesn't seem like it, but you're going to learn so much from this, and that it's actually going to allow you to be a better project manager. Point number 6, 2 things that I love about project management is what? Communication and collaboration. But nope, this is not about communication. However, it is, what is your approach to team leadership and collaboration? Listen, your mentor should be able to give you a framework of how they lead. Some project managers micromanage. Some project managers manage and they don't lead. As you know, there's 2 different things when you manage and you lead. When you lead to inspire, to motivate, to groom, and to grow, and to be someone that they can count on, not just when times are good, also when times are bad. Lean on me When? Okay, you didn't pay for my singing. Okay. Anyway, family. Also, the collaboration. Collaboration for me is just, I love collaboration. Like, I dislike when I love when all the titles are left outside the door and we find a way to work collaborative. I love when all the titles don't make it to the table and we can sit there and talk openly and without feeling nervous or scared that I may say something that you don't like, and now all of a sudden, and I'm saying this in a professional manner, meaning, let's say I'm saying, hey, well, maybe we need to push this, we need to, let's say, fast track this schedule by either adding more resources or whatever it may be, and you don't balk at me. We have an intellectual conversation around it of why maybe it won't work or maybe why it will work. So again, collaboration for me is that's one of the things I always look for in any organization that I work at, because of the fact of I know the power of it when everybody is moving at one accord. It really helps. It helps a lot too when you have great collaboration, because you can resolve conflicts faster because the person knows that you have their best interests at heart, and then at the end you're able to drive team performance. My last and final, my last and final point here, which the last and final question I believe, again, this is just me, that you should ask your project mentors: how do you manage the triple constraints, which is scope, time, cost, as well as quality? And what I've done, and for me, is what I've learned of how to manage that appropriately is making sure you have the right supporting documentation, following, looking at that documentation, if not every day, every other day, sending out updates of kind of where if people owe you things and they're falling behind. So basically, I'll say regarding the triple constraints, it's just making sure there's accountability there and that you have tracking in place, you have organization in place, and this allows you to really have an optimal resource utilization, meaning that because you're paying attention to these triple constraints and you know, okay, this resource I'm going to need maybe a month from now, so I need to start making sure we can get ahead, so when that resource comes available, we can connect, and then boom, let them do their part, then boom, and move them off the project, and then keep the project moving. So family, I hope this helped you today. It's been your boy D. Till next time, I'm out.